Hello there guys, it's Stephen and Phil here back on FOOTY.COM, and you know, if you watch this channel that we're more than a little bit obsessed with shirts, and especially this guy next to me, he's got about 4,000 shirts. Is it that? How many have you got now?
A few less than that.
Only a few less than
Too many, mate.
3,500. In general, we're big fans of football shirts on this channel, so today we thought we'd give you a little bit of a guide of how to spot a fake shirt, because that's very important if you're a football shirt aficionado, and Phil is the man to do that. Before we do that, don't forget, if you are new to this channel, you want to stay ahead of all the kind of kit news at the moment, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But Phil, this is an area that you feel quite strongly about, isn't it? Because someone obviously you value authenticity, and today we're going to run through a list of tips. We've got a big pile of shirts here, by the way. Yeah. Some fake ones, some real ones, and we're going to work out what makes them what they are, basically. So we'll start initially with a very simple question, Phil. Should I, Mr. Stephen McInerney, buy fake football shirts?
I think, it's a good place to start. It's probably an impossible question to answer because obviously the rise of fake football shirts has happened for a very real reason. Shirts are very expensive.
And they're popular.
And they're very popular. And, you know, let's say, take this Inter Milan shirt. This is a really great shirt this year. We've reviewed it very highly. And if you're someone who either can't afford to pay sort of 60, 70 quid or just doesn't want to, of course you would look at the fake route. I guess really what I'd want to say in this video, and we'll talk about, it's more sort of how can we spot fake football shirts if you do want to avoid them, and actually what are some of the pros and cons. So I think the question, should you? I would say, you know, I'd say always buy authentic if you can. Yeah. And I think there's good reasons for that. I mean, maybe just to talk generally, I think in terms of the price of shirts, obviously whilst they're cheaper to buy, much cheaper to buy, if you're going to then sell a shirt on, and a lot of people don't think of selling a shirt, but for me, one thing I've enjoyed is, you know, you buy a shirt and then you can sell it and actually even make a profit sometimes, or trade it for another shirt and that sort of thing. So I think that's one reason maybe not to buy a fake shirt would be the resale price. I think maybe let's just talk about accuracy as well. We've got some of the shirts here. Now, fake shirts are really good these days. They're very hard to spot.
But they're not perfect.
But they're not perfect. I think that's the key.
I recently, because I run a Manchester City fan channel, so I bought a few Man City fake shirts out of curiosity, really, because I wanted to see what they look like up close. And they turned up, and they're pretty good. They are pretty good.
I was going to say, maybe
they're not perfect.
If you hold up this one, I mean, if you put it to camera, I'd be impressed how many, you know, they're very similar.
Especially, but bear in mind the colour grading in the photos and the camera, it's not close.
Exactly. But I mean, let's maybe do some spotting. So the first thing that jumped out to me, and again, obviously for a lot of people you won't care about this, but if you do care about this, let's look at the crest for the start. And I don't know how clear it will be on camera, but just in terms of the sharpness and the colours of the crests, you can see that it's not quite the same.
They feel different as well, trust me on that.
Yeah, I've got the fake, you've got the real one, and it just looks a bit better on the
I wasn't even looking at it, but I knew I had the real one because this feels chunky on the crest. There's more depth to it, that's flatter.
Yeah, and again, a very small thing, it's really hard to point out the difference, but just the quality of the application here, it's very similar visually, but there's slightly more, it creases slightly easier on the fake shirt. You know, it's not perfect.
The colour as well, this is a much brighter purple than that. That's a little bit more muted. I mean,
it is, yeah. Now, I must say, on this particular fake, they've done quite a good job on the Puma logo, but we'll get to another shirt.
Well, they haven't.
Well, they haven't. Maybe flip it over the back now. You can see here, again, it's a small thing, but that City application is almost black on the fake one, whereas it's a much nicer purple there. And it just stretches a bit more here.
On the inside label.
Oh, yes. So this is a very good one. Yeah, you can see there. Automatically.
That's essentially. I mean, I have washed that, and it's probably not been washed today recently, but it's faded off big time.
It's faded off big time.
This hasn't, essentially.
It hasn't, and I think, you know, I must say again, fakes can be very good. They've actually done a good job on things like the pattern, but you can see their little things, and again,
I mean, from my untrained eye, the little things like it doesn't just pop as much. That's what I would say. It doesn't. It's like you look at it and go, "That's pretty good," but you're not sure why it isn't perfect. And then it's little things like, well, you realise the badges are a little bit flatter in terms of like it's not quite as textured. The colours aren't quite as vibrant. The stitching it doesn't quite. I mean, I'll really get close up with the two Puma logos. I was going to put them there, but you really can see the colour is so much more vibrant, and the edges are so much more sharper on the Puma logos. I'll get a shot of them together on screen right now, hopefully. It's little things like that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we talked about the Puma logo. Let's just bring up this one because this one is quite great.
So this one, I actually got a pen out and like coloured his little nose in to make him look a bit less pointy. Initially, it was genuinely he had like a Pinocchio nose going on. But this one, and then a great example once again, the back of the collar there, it's just a mess. So that's you can tell that's already fallen off. This badge came on it, and it's very, very, very cheap. Very cheap. It looks like someone's made that in half. You know,
even I've just noticed here, and again on the sleeve, you can just see how close. Again, it's just an inaccurate Puma logo, and you know people won't notice that. from a distance, but it's things like that which show that, I mean, there's not even consistency between that's on the sleeve, he's touching his hand basically there. But I mean, I think regardless of all those things as well,
I've noticed basically they look like ones that have not. They would, if they were on a conveyor belt in a factory for Puma, they'd be the ones that go into the scrap bin.
Yeah,
that's what they look like, because they're like around the crest. There's just so much thread. There's so much thread there, basically. From over here, when I was doing that, like you're fine, but then you look close and you're like, it does look a little bit tatty. Like the city's also a little bit wonky.
That's it.
The city on the back of there is a bit wonky, things like that. And that seems to be a thing that kind of plagues most of them. So, is that the best way to spot a fake shirt?
Well, I think probably the best way, actually, we've not talked about the best way, and this is something which does need a bit of research, but basically you want to look at the internal labels of a shirt. Now, this is, again, an area which most people wouldn't see, obviously, because you're wearing the shirt. But if you're particularly concerned, if you're someone like me who's a collector, you always look at the internal labels, because you can have a really good fake shirt, but basically, 99 times out of 100, you'll be able to spot it by the labels.
We've got a fake Roma one here.
So we've got a fake Roma, and it's really great actually that we've got a fake Roma and a fake Inter Milan. And I'll just, this is probably something where you need some close-ups, but if we just look at the internal labels, and by that I literally just mean, inside of the side of the shirt. I mean, so between brands, every year you'll have the same type of labels. Obviously they may change, but immediately as I open these two shirts, you can see we've got completely different sets of labels. These are two Nike shirts this year, and already that looks bizarre.
Doesn't want a Barcelona as well.
This one,
it's got a pen on it as well. It's always drawn.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see here we've got an FC Barcelona tag
on the shirt.
And the kind of key one as well. And this is only for Nike shirts, but it'll be similar for other brands. You want to look for this. There's a unique code basically that sits under where it says M there. And if you literally just Google that, you'll see basically what shirt comes up. Incidentally, not only do these both have the same code, which is automatically a warning flag, it actually returned France's 2016 away shirt as the product code. So there you go. They've obviously got these labels.
Dimension hopping.
Yeah. And the thing is, again, obviously, you don't see that aesthetically.
Are there any terms that you can use to spot a fake shirt in general? Like, are there any, like, if you see something, any warning signs? Basically?
Oh yeah, very good question. I think, especially online, and if you're on eBay. People sometimes use the word fan jersey, and I mean that's almost kind of, I guess it's quite a handy thing if you're looking for fakes. That's a classic term. I mean, some people will just be quite upfront and say unofficial, and again, if it's unofficial, it's probably fake. The other thing as well, blurred out manufacturer logos are a big obvious sign.
Because they haven't got the license, you tell.
Exactly, and the thing is, again, it's one of those things. It's kind of, it can be quite handy both ways, but I think that's another thing. And just probably a quick one as well on product pages. If you've got a listing online and it's just showing retail pictures, that automatically... I question that, because obviously they've just grabbed them from another retailer's page.
No refunds is a big one as well.
No refunds. That's kind of...
that should be alarm bells for anything.
I know. Why would any self-respecting retailer? And again, a lot of people won't care.
So to summarise on the shirt, it's little things like the material. Check out the material, obviously up close. And it's things like the colours. Obviously, you'll be able to notice the difference. The stitching. I mean, the Nike one.
You can see that.
It's just a bit cheaper, really. Then things like the printing and the labels and that kind of stuff. So, Phil, where do we go from here then? Like in general?
Yeah, I think the thing is, shirts aren't going down in price, of course, and it's a clear problem for the industry, for clubs, for fans in general. I think what's been tried for a few clubs over the years is actually to have official replicas, but at a much cheaper price point, almost in the sort of replica, it's the retro remake range, 20 to 30 quid. I think hopefully brands and clubs will start to basically, you'll have your player issue shirts, which basically no one will be able to afford really. Until they come down in price, but then you've got the replicas at around the 60 quid range, which is still a lot of money. So hopefully we start seeing more clubs do. I mean, they used to call them basic shirts back in the day. Clubs like Barcelona, and it sounds a bit kind of negative, but they would.
I know exactly what they would look like though.
So exactly, they would be really.
I guess the badges wouldn't be embossed and things like
that. Exactly, maybe they wouldn't have a sponsor or something, which might be better for some people. You might have slightly.
I would buy them probably.
That's the thing. And if it's a club, official club. Merchandise, you're supporting the club.
It's not fake then, is it? It's just it's an alternative version.
And it's not, and actually there would be a bit of resale value in the future, because you still see on some sites, say classic football shirts, they'll still sell basic versions of shirts. So I think that'll be really good. And at the end of the day, I think what I would always say for anyone, if you buy fake shirts, that's great. But also, let's say you want to get rid of a fake shirt. Why not donate some of those kits? Because a lot of people,
this time of year,
exactly look, this time of year, a lot of people, even myself, I've had fakes over the years, some willingly, some unwillingly. And actually, rather than just because you can't really get any money for them selling them, why not give them to a charity? There's loads of good people out there. So there's a few ideas.
And finally, what are the alternatives really to fake shirts in general?
Great question. I think the big one for me,
the euro down.
No, it's for me, and obviously if you've been watching this channel, we were at FOOTY.COM. And there are so many good deals out there, genuine shirts, and sometimes even player issue shirts for a tenner, for 20 quid.
What FOOTY.COM does basically, we scour all the websites on the face of this earth basically and look for really cheap deals. We compare the prices, so we'll always find you the cheapest version of that shirt available. And Phil does a thing, don't you, called the discount kit tracker? Every Tuesday,
give or take, and it is literally, I'm finding shirts under 10 quid, under 20 quid, and these are all genuine shirts on that and on FOOTY.COM. I think alternatively, just shopping on eBay, it sounds silly, but if you know what to look for and if you take some of the advice from today, you can find really good shirts. I found shirts, like from the 80s and the 90s even for cheaper than you'd get a fake shirt. It is really quite impressive what you can find.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned retro remix. There's some really good retro shirts out there now. And they're, again, legitimate business, but really, really good quality. And some of them even have the manufacturer logo on there. So there's a few really good alternatives out there.
So basically, that is our little kind of guide of how to spot a fake football shirt in a nutshell. We covered where you should buy them and not really the alternatives, how to spot a fake one in general, including things like the stitching, the colours, all that kind of stuff. And essentially, what to do with fake shirts if you get them, and absolutely loads more. Let us know what your thoughts are on this subject. It's a very touchy subject in the world of football in general. Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe as well for loads more videos like this in the future. For now, though, I've been Stephen, this is Phil. Have a wonderful Christmas.